topic for this morning is ideas leave not their source. This is one of the most important principles in A Course in Miracles. It can be understood on two levels. The first level is ideas leave not their source represents the truth of the atonement, that the idea of God's Son can never leave his source in heaven, meaning that the separation from God never occurred. It was just an illusion or a bad dream. Ideas leave not their source also has relevance within the separated mind. In the separated mind, any thought that we have, such as guilt or forgiveness, does not leave the mind and seem then to travel out into the world, which is what projection or extension expresses. For the purposes of our discussion this morning, we will just deal with the ego's thought system in terms of projection. Extension being the Course's term for the right-minded or the correct use of projection. The ego tells us that the guilt in our minds is real, that it's terribly abhorrent to us, and the only way we could find peace is to escape from the guilt by getting rid of it. Enter then projection. That we take the guilt in our mind, we project it out and put it onto someone else. Namely, ideas leave their source. That the guilt in our mind can travel outside and land on someone else's body, thereby justifying our attacks on them or our judgments or criticisms. In other words, the guilt is in them and not in me. But the truth of the matter is that ideas leave not their source. That whatever is in the mind stays in the mind because there is nothing outside of the mind. So the statement that ideas leave not their source on the level of the split mind is another way of saying that there is no world. Indeed, in Lesson 132, I loose the world from all I thought it was, Jesus comments on the important principle ideas leave not their source, and follows this by saying, there is no world. This is the central lesson this Course attempts to teach. And there is no world because, again, the thought of guilt, the thought of separation in the mind, has never and can never leave its source. Namely, projection simply does not work. This is another way of understanding a very important difference that one finds in the Course, between the Course and other disciplines and thought systems these days, that talk about the unification of mind, body, and spirit. The mind is not in the body. The body is in the mind. Because, again, ideas leave not their source. The mind is not trapped in the body. The mind is not released from the body at death, as many people feel, because once again, the mind is not in the body because ideas leave not their source. That principle cannot be reiterated often enough. It is the whole basis of the thought system on which A Course in Miracles rests. Indeed, the whole thought system of the ego is based on the antithesis to that principle, i.e., ideas do leave their source. The idea of God's Son can leave his source in heaven and establish a self, an identity, a world, and a form of love that is the opposite to heaven. We now have a limited, separated self instead of the one self of Christ. We now have special love instead of the love of God. We now have separation instead of oneness. And we now have a world of suffering, pain, and death rather than the world of eternity in heaven. So the ego says ideas do leave their source. The Holy Spirit counters with the atonement principle saying ideas do not leave their source. Since the ego believes that the Son has left heaven, and that indeed is what the ego is, and then the ego says we protect our investment, as it were. We protect our identification in the ego by putting it from the mind out into the body. Indeed, at the beginning of chapter 18, Jesus talks about the first projection of error, which is the projection of the thought of separation out into the world, thereby making the world. Elsewhere, Jesus says that the world is a delusional system of those made mad by guilt. All the world is a projection of a thought of guilt in the mind, but since that thought of guilt has never occurred, because ideas leave not their source, there therefore is not only no guilt, but there is no world. Right? In that recognition and the acceptance of that happy fact, we find the basis of forgiveness. That's why Jesus teaches us in the Course that we forgive what has not occurred. There is nobody out there. Not only has no one really hurt me by taking the peace of God away from me, there is no one even out there who can hurt me because ideas leave not their source. In that thought is salvation found, and in applying that thought to our everyday world that A Course in Miracles is applied, learned, and taught.